suspect!
Coming to get you, Bobber.
Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at who killed who in Scream 2. Now, I was a little bit reluctant to try and continue on doing who killed who because I think some movies might be harder than others to determine, and I thought that Scream 2 was going to be really difficult because I didn't remember some of the lines that would maybe help me connect who the killer was in some of the movies, sorry, for some of the kills. But after I watched Scream 2, I was pleasantly surprised as to how easy it was, because when we got the reveal for the killers, they kind of let us know the answers for quite a few of them. So it turned out to be a lot easier than I thought, but again, some of them are still opinion based, so I could be wrong. Now, before we dive into them, we've got the two major rules, and that is, one, it's just my opinion, there is no right or wrong answer. Wes Craven didn't direct these movies for us to guess who the killer was, because we weren't supposed to know if there was one or two killers. And the second rule is, it is a stuntman as the Ghostface character, so never go by the height of the Ghostface at the time, because it is a stuntman after all. Let's start with the first two victims, Maureen and Phil. In true Scream fashion, we've got two kills in the first opening scene with Maureen and Phil, so I still believe that there is only one killer in this opening scene, and I will explain who I think the killer is as we go on. Now, with the first two kills, there's not really a definite answer until later on into the movie. Mickey is talking about the kills when they're on campus. The Chief HALLIE comes and talks about the death of these two students, and we don't get to hear most of the chat that Chief HALLIE has, but Mickey comes back to the group, and he was obviously listening to what Chief HALLIE had to say, and Mickey says that she was stabbed 7 times. Now, we as an audience never heard the Chief say that, and Mickey being Mickey, and he wants to live on the edge, maybe he knew that they were stabbed 7 times, or she was stabbed 7 times, so maybe just trying to tell them, because he seems, from what we see at the end of the movie, he seems like the sort of character who wants to gloat. We didn't know it at the time, but we found out at the end of the movie. So when you watch the movie back, he does do quite a few bits of gloating, and that seems to be one of them when he said that she could stab 7 times. Now, at the end of the movie, Mickey says that his excuse is he's going to get caught, but he wants to get caught, but he wants to blame the movies. So Maureen and Phil were killed at the movies, and he's going to use that as an excuse to kill these people. So it just seems more likely that Mickey was the killer at the beginning of the movie. We also see Mickey throughout the film making movies, making a documentary. You see him behind Sydney quite a lot, filming Sydney. But then you see when Dewey and Gail were putting in the tapes, they see a tape of Maureen and Phil being filmed again. So it seems like Mickey is the one with this video camera, so it could only be Mickey that was at the cinema filming Maureen and Phil before he eventually killed Maureen and Phil. So the first two victims, although it was a little bit messy at the time, I think we got the answers that we needed to confirm, or for me at least, that the killer for Maureen and Phil was Mickey. Victim number 3 is CICI. Now, in this one, I believe that 2 killers were responsible for this one, but only one person done the killing. Now, you'll see that CICI was talking to the killer on the phone, as well as one of the killers walking past as she's on the phone to the other killer. So I believe, and we'll get into this and I'll get into the reasons why, but I believe that it might be Mickey on the phone talking to CICI while Mrs. Loomis is in the background getting ready to kill CICI. Now, later on after the death, we see Mickey and Derek turn up at the party after CICI is killed, so it seems like Mickey has an alibi. He was with Derek at the time. Now, I think the reason that they showed us Mickey and Derek coming in like that is because Wes Craven wanted the audience to think that it could be Mickey and Derek that are the killers, but obviously because Derek's not the killer, then we can assume that Mickey's not the killer at this time. But because Mickey had an alibi and he was with Derek, then we can assume that he wasn't away killing CICI at the time. Now, if he did go away and kill CICI at the time and turn up with Derek later on, Derek as a character would have said something like, well, where was Mickey at the time CICI died? it could be Mickey that's the killer, but Derek never questions that, so we can assume that Mickey was always with Derek, apart from the points where maybe he went to the toilet when he was making his phone call to CICI. Once we find out that CICI is dead and everyone's there to look at the body, we then see Debbie Salt appear. At the time her name is Debbie Salt, we didn't know she was called Mrs. Loomis at the time, but she appeared. She was already at the scene. What was she doing at the scene at that point? She had no reason to be there, especially so fast. So it seems like she was already there for a reason and she was the killer. Now she did say something along the lines of, I gotta go, I've got a deadline.
So I gotta go, I've got a deadline. And
she just disappeared and that was it. It seemed like she wanted to get away before anyone saw that she was there. So with all that evidence, all the evidence that I could find for CICI's killer, I think that Mrs. Loomis was the killer. Victim number 4 is Randy. Now, when I watched this movie for the first time, trying to figure out who killed who, when this happened to Randy, I didn't have a clue who it was. I had a feeling that it would have been Mrs. Loomis because the things that Randy was saying to whoever was on the phone, it seems like whoever was on that phone took it personally with the way Randy was killed, and he was talking about Billy being a little mama's boy, etc. So at that point, I thought it has to be Mrs. Loomis. It can't be Mickey. Mickey's nowhere to be seen. And at this point, Mrs. Loomis or Debbie Salt was just kind of hovering around the area. So when I was doing my Who Killed Who notes, I had Mrs. Loomis in mind for the killing of Randy, but then later on we get a confirmation of who the killer was.
Randy spoke poorly of Billy and I got a little knife happy.
So that confirms that the killer of Randy is Mrs. Loomis. Victims number 5, 6 and 7 are the 2 cops and Hallie. Now we've got a trio of kills and obviously it's the same killer that's killing all 3 of them, so I'm going to put them into this one section. Just like the Randy kill, when I was watching this I was trying to decipher who could have been in what position at the time. We find out and we know who the killer was, but at this point in time I was trying to figure out who was who. We saw that Mrs. Loomis was already at the campus at the time. She was at the phone box on the phone, or pretending to be on the phone, so we knew that she wasn't anywhere near where this car was when it crashed and 2 cops got killed by Ghostface, as well as Hallie being killed. So it could only really be Mickey, or I thought it could only be Mickey at the time, but again with the confirmation of the end when we get the reveal, we see that Mickey takes his mask off and he had the wound on his head, so he was the one that was in the car crash, which means it's confirmed that Mickey killed the 2 cops and Hallie. Victim number 8 is Derek. You're probably thinking, why are you putting him on the list? Well, he was officially killed by a Ghostface killer, and as you can see it was done on screen without the mask on, so the killer in this one was Mickey. So out of the 8 kills that we got in Scream 2, I believe that Mickey killed 6 people, whereas Mrs. Loomis only killed 2 people. So if those numbers were correct, then that would mean that Mickey is the winner. So what do you guys think? Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Obviously it's just a bit of fun. I could be right, I could be wrong. There is no right or wrong answer. That's the beauty of these Who Killed Who videos. But leave your comments down below. Let me know who you think killed who. And if it is different from me, let me know your reasons why. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.